Shalom, shalom. I have often asked myself what Yeshua meant when he told Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." We know this took place after Yeshua had just told his disciples that soon he would be rejected and killed, but that he would rise. Peter then took Yeshua aside and imagine, rebuked him. It is then when Yeshua said those words to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." So was Yeshua addressing Satan who was in Peter? Could Satan have been in Peter? Thank you for the answer.
Now, this is a hard saying of Jesus, but did he really mean to say that Satan himself was in Peter? Let's look at the text and the context. While the reproach is actually very strong, this doesn't mean that Peter was possessed by Satan at this time. After all, he is a believer. Let us try to understand these words as a first century person actually would have. Then the name of Satan was used to describe one who is an adversary or even an oppressor. The name was used not necessarily to designate a person possessed by the devil, but one who was opposing somebody else. And it is in this way that the name Satan is used even in the Hebrew scriptures. For example, in the passage concerning Solomon in 1 Kings 11:14, we read that then the Lord raised up an adversary to Solomon, Hadad, the Edomite. The word adversary is actually Satan in the Hebrew. Even in the Greek translation in the Septuagint, the word Satan is actually left there, meaning an adversary, for this is what the name actually means. Or we have in 1 Kings chapter 5 verse 4 where we read that Solomon saying, "But now the Lord my God has given me rest on every side. There's neither adversary nor misfortune." So here the word adversary is again Satan. So when the name Satan was used, it was often to speak of his character being seen in an individual, not necessarily that he himself is possessed actually by Satan. By the first century, actually, in Aramaic, the language spoken at the time of Jesus, this word Satan was used to describe a disturber, again, an opponent. And it is in this sense that we can understand this rebuke. Furthermore, see what Jesus says to Peter. "Get behind me." When he was confronting Satan himself at the temptation, Jesus did not tell him, "Get behind me," but he said, "Go, Satan." Because this same word behind is mainly translated as follow, like when Yeshua told them to follow me, I will make you fishers of men. So we can then understand that Jesus called Peter back to himself, saying, "Take back your rank and follow me." And see that Jesus added the words, "For you are not setting your mind on God's interest, but on man's." He was speaking of man's interest versus God's interest, and at this point, he dropped the name of Satan. This is therefore an issue between God and man. So Yeshua was reprimanding Peter both gently and harshly. For the mention of Satan is also a warning here, as it brings us to realize the very close connection between sin and Satan. But while Yeshua will always work to bring back a backsliding believer, the reality we learn here is that when we promote something that is wrong, something false, we rank ourselves on the side of Satan and against the things of God. This again is a stern warning, and it is very subtle. Take for instance what is considered a little sin. I'll give you another example, like lying, a small lie, a white lie, as some of us will call it. Many just accept and use that kind of lying when needed. But should we really be doing that? But we are told that Satan is the father of lies. Jesus clearly and plainly tells us that the devil, he is a liar and the father of lies. So whether small or white, a lie is a lie. Can we see that it is from Satan? The problem is that we often assume that a lie is the only way we could get around the problem. Evil should never be an option for those who walk with God. The law even tells us in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 11 and 12, "You shall not steal, nor deal falsely, nor lie to one another." The word lie in Hebrew is sakar, which means to break a covenant, for this is what lying is. Satan did break his tie with God, and this is why he is called the father of lies. So In some, it is better to see the use of the name Satan as an adjective one can attribute to every sin. So we can read this commandment in the Gospels as saying, "Get behind me, Peter, and follow me. Don't act like the adversary."